You wake up inside a villa. The curtains slide open automatically. Beyond the infinity pool, your yacht is already waiting at the dock. Your helicopter is out there, ready for you. Your phone vibrates. One message is from your wife asking what time you'll be home. The other simply says, "Breakfast is ready." You smile. The chef already knows what both of you eat in the morning. The staff never asks questions. The chauffeur knows two completely different routes depending on who you're with. Even the security team understands which names are never spoken out loud. For a moment, it feels like you've unlocked a version of life that everyone secretly fantasizes about. Two people who want you. Two different worlds. One built on stability, the other on excitement. You convince yourself that you've somehow doubled your happiness without giving anything up. You begin believing you've discovered something ordinary people simply can't afford. That is the fantasy. The reality is far stranger. Because a mistress isn't simply another relationship. It isn't even another monthly expense. It's an entire parallel life. And every parallel life comes with its own economy. The conflict isn't whether you can afford expensive gifts. It's whether you can afford the invisible system required to keep two completely different realities from colliding. Because the moment those realities touch, the cost changes forever. Most people think the biggest expense is jewelry, or luxury handbags, or five-star vacations. Those are actually some of the cheapest parts. The real costs begin long before anyone notices a suspicious credit card statement. A secret relationship doesn't sell romance. It sells separation. Every dollar you spend is really buying distance between two versions of your life. Distance between two calendars, two sets of stories, two groups of friends, two phones, two routines, two identities. The affair itself isn't the product, the secrecy is. And secrecy is one of the most expensive services money can buy. But here's the hidden trapdoor almost nobody thinks about. The money isn't protecting the secret. The money is protecting the system that protects the secret. And those are two completely different things. Every new layer of privacy creates another layer of complexity. Another lawyer, another accountant, another property manager, another pilot, another payroll, another company registered in another jurisdiction, another trail of invoices that somehow all need to make sense if anyone ever asks questions. A shell company owns the villa. A trust owns the shell company. A private investment office manages the trust. A family office authorizes the payments. A family office is simply a company created to manage the wealth and affairs of an ultra-rich family instead of operating a normal business. On paper, none of those entities have anything to do with your personal life. That's the point. The further your name stays away from the asset, the harder it becomes for anyone to connect the dots. But every layer you add creates another person who knows one small piece of the puzzle. The lawyer knows who signed the documents. The pilot knows where the jet landed. The concierge knows who checked into the villa. The security team knows which entrance you used. None of them know the entire story. Yet none of them need to. The secret doesn't collapse because one person knows everything. It collapses because 100 people each know one tiny detail. That's why the world's wealthiest families spend millions every year on information security instead of just physical security. Encrypted communications costing around $2,000 to $5,000 per user every month. Private servers costing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Dedicated travel coordinators costing $300,000 to $800,000 annually. Confidentiality agreements supported by legal retainers that can reach millions of dollars per year. The goal isn't hiding people, it's reducing information. Because information has a strange habit of becoming public the longer it exists. So remember the fantasy from the beginning of this story, the one where money simply buys another relationship? Here's what actually consumes the money. The relationship is almost never the largest expense. The logistics are. The villa isn't there because it's romantic. It's there because hotels create records, and owning a private waterfront estate worth $30 million to $100 million can cost another $2 million to $5 million every year just to keep it invisible and ready. The Gulf Stream isn't there because commercial airlines are uncomfortable. It's there because commercial airports create witnesses, and a Gulfstream G650 can cost $75 million to $80 million to purchase and around $4 million every year to operate. The chauffeur isn't there because driving is inconvenient. It's there because rideshare apps create digital histories, and a full-time private chauffeur operation can easily cost $150,000 to $300,000 every year before adding luxury vehicles, insurance, and maintenance. The lawyers aren't there because lawsuits are expected. They're there because ownership has to be separated from identity, and maintaining trusts, holding companies, and legal structures can cost millions of dollars every year. Every dollar isn't buying affection, it's buying fewer connections between one event and another. The world's richest people understand something most people never have to think about. Privacy isn't an object, it's an infrastructure. And infrastructure is always expensive. A bridge doesn't become valuable because somebody drives across it once. It becomes valuable because it reliably separates two sides every single day. A hidden life works exactly the same way. The money isn't paying for extraordinary moments. It's paying for ordinary moments to remain invisible. That's the real economics. Not passion, not excitement, distance. Now consider what happens when that distance disappears. In 2019, the divorce proceedings surrounding billionaire retailer Harold Hamm revealed years of financial records, corporate structures, trusts, aircraft usage, and ownership arrangements that had previously remained almost entirely private. The headlines focused on their relationships. The financial world focused on something else. How quickly decades of carefully separated assets could suddenly become part of a public legal process. The lesson wasn't that billionaires can't keep secrets. The lesson was that every secret eventually encounters a system more powerful than money. Courts, governments, investigators, digital records. Once those systems become involved, every holding company, every aircraft registration, every property title, every wire transfer, and every signature starts fitting together like pieces of a puzzle. Years of carefully maintained separation can begin collapsing in weeks, not because the money disappeared, because information finally started flowing in the opposite direction. And that's the risk almost nobody prices in. A secret affair isn't another relationship. It's an enterprise built to manufacture separation. The villa, the yacht, the helicopter, the holding companies, the lawyers, the pilots, and the security teams are all solving the same problem from different directions. They're trying to prevent two completely different realities from ever touching each other. And maybe that's the part that reaches far beyond billionaires. Most people imagine wealth as the ability to buy more freedom. But extreme wealth often buys something very different. It buys the ability to build larger and larger systems around your decisions. And every system demands maintenance, because in the end, the most expensive thing in this story was never the yacht waiting outside your villa. It wasn't the helicopter. It wasn't the waterfront estate. It was the relentless cost of making an impossible life appear effortless. From the outside, it looked like unlimited freedom. From the inside, it was one of the most expensive operations money could possibly sustain.